Panama Canal is in the midst of an 8-year, $5 billion renovation, the largest project at the canal since its original construction, which was one of the great engineering feats of the 20th century. The 50-mile-long passage connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans created a much-needed shortcut, allowing ships to bypass the long journey around the tip of South America. For a ship sailing from New York to California, it trimmed nearly 8,000 miles from its voyage. But the Panama Canal was completed only after decades of dangerous and often deadly work. The French were the first to try in 1880, but after 9 years and the loss of nearly 20,000 lives, the French had little to show for their efforts. When American President Teddy Roosevelt came to office in 1901, he saw the building and control of the canal as key to establishing America's dominance on the global stage. Over the next decade, tens of thousands of workers, most of them from the West Indies, toiled in often dangerous conditions, facing everything from extreme weather to outbreaks of malaria and deadly snakes. More than 5,000 people lost their lives during the American-led years of the project. But once the Panama Canal opened and the first ship passed through in 1914, it became the center of global trade. By 2005, nearly 70% of all cargo to and from the U.S. passed through the canal. And now construction is underway to expand the 100-year-old canal to double its existing capacity, and therefore to allow passage for ships with 3 times the cargo they carry now. That's where we get to this part. Port cities around the country are racing to make sure they don't miss the boat. Literally. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. ports are spending $6 to $8 billion a year to accommodate the supersized ships in hopes of creating more jobs and profits. But just like 100 years ago, construction on the Panama Canal could once again come at a human cost. Community activists are sounding the alarm about what they see as a threat to the health of the people living near the ports. MSNBC national reporter Aaliyah Fruman went to Newark, New Jersey to report on just what is at stake.
This is the Bayonne Bridge in northeastern New Jersey. It connects the region to Staten Island in New York and hovers over the shipping traffic that makes nearby Newark, New Jersey, one of the busiest port cities in the world. The bridge stands at 151 feet high, but in order to accommodate the larger ships expected because of the expansion of the Panama Canal, there are now plans to raise the bridge to 215 feet, and that is raising some concerns. Bigger ships means more cargo, and when that cargo is offloaded, it moves out from the port on primarily diesel-fueled trucks.
These are some of the dirtiest trucks, and so because they are spewing diesel pollution, that is actually getting in the lungs of our residents.
This is Kim Gaddy, 4th-generation Newark resident and mother of 3 children, all of whom have asthma. She works for the environmental group Clean Water Action.
Because the Port of New York and New Jersey is the largest port on the East Coast, we experience a large amount of trucks. And with the raising of the Bayonne Bridge 65 feet, I can see the trucks doubling it. And if they're not the newer, cleaner fleet of trucks, it is definitely going to be more health problems for residents in the city of Newark.
In Newark, the asthma-related death and hospitalization rate is already twice that of the surrounding suburbs.
We think we have a compelling case that the Port Authority and the Coast Guard didn't do an adequate job in studying the environmental impacts.
Aaron Kleinbaum is the legal director of the Eastern Environmental Law Center and one of the attorneys involved in a lawsuit against the Port Authority and the U.S. Coast Guard over the project.
My clients in Newark are mostly concerned because the air quality impacts from bringing huge amounts of cargo, increased amounts of cargoes under the bridge into the Newark port and taking that cargo by diesel truck through their communities, past their homes, past their schools, and emitting significant amounts of diesel emissions. And their kids are going to suffer health impacts, health effects from those trucks.
It's not just kids. Longtime Newark resident Bobby James says the trucks have already taken a toll on her health.
How has the trucks affected your health, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's the fume that comes from the truck make my asthma act up, cause me to have asthma attack, cause me to have a breathing problem right now. I do have a breathing problem. I'm on oxygen.
Nancy Mincy says the pollution has made it harder for her 2 teenage sons to do what most kids do, play outdoors.
Both my sons have asthma, and my oldest son is treated. He has it severely. Right now, he's not able to be outside because of the constant pollution that's coming in our area.
The Environmental Protection Agency has not drawn a direct link from the trucks to cases of asthma in Newark, but the EPA does indicate that there is mounting evidence showing diesel exhaust can exacerbate allergies and asthma symptoms. Supporters of raising the bridge say it will help boost the local economy without hurting the environment or local residents.
How does it benefit residents in New Jersey and the surrounding area?
Well, first, the ports the Port Authority runs in New York and New Jersey account for about 300,000 jobs.
Patrick Foy is the head of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
This is about preserving jobs. It's about growing and maintaining the competitiveness of the busiest port on the East Coast, and it's also about protecting and enhancing our environment.
Environmental groups and activists and residents are sounding their alarm, saying that the project will result in significant air pollution.
I think the advocates are wrong. I think actually there'll be fewer container ships coming. They'll be carrying more containers per ship. They'll be burning less fuel per ship and emitting less schmutz per ship.
But for residents on the ground, the concern is less about the ships coming into port and more about the increased number of trucks delivering the cargo those ships bring.
If they can do something about it, it would be better for us, that we wouldn't have to inhale and breathe all this different kind of fumes that's coming from these trucks. It's a lot of things that cause a lot of us to be sick.
Our thanks to MSNBC national reporter Aaliyah Fruman for that report. And joining me now, one of the activists that you heard from in that story, Kim Gaddy of Clean Water Action. Do you feel like city and state officials are being honest about what the likely environmental impact is of raising the bridge and therefore having more truck traffic?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey is disingenuous because they had the Coast Guard do an environmental assessment. And they said that, oh, it'll cost, it will bring little jobs, few environmental problems. And so you're spending $1.3 billion, and you say it would only be an increase of 54 trucks? Mm-hmm. Which one is it? Because you read all the articles in the newspaper, and it tells you, oh, there's going to be an increase in jobs. Oh, increase in ships, increase in cargo. So right now, 10,000 trucks come through our port in our neighborhoods every day. The third largest port in the nation. When they raise the Bayonne Bridge, I can see that count going up to 14,000 to 20,000. So the story isn't being told correctly.
It's interesting. So we do have a statement from the Port Authority where they say, through the aggressive implementation of our clean air strategy and successive programs such as Express Rail, the Clean Vessel Incentive Program, and the truck replacement and truck phase-out programs, the Port Authority has dramatically reduced particulate matter by more than 40%. Despite an 8.6 increase in cargo. So they're claiming, okay, there may be more trucks, but they're going to be clean trucks this time. What do you make of that?
And that's also fraudulent. I mean, currently right now we have trucks that are pre-2007. If the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and the trucking company would remove or ban those trucks and only allow 2007 and newer ships, we would reduce the amount of diesel pollution by 90%. 90%.
So there is an actual solution to this that still allows for, because I'm thinking, okay, if I'm a state official and I see that Panama Canal opening it up, then I've just got to say, hey, listen, we got to go try to get a piece of that economic pie. But you're telling me there's a way to get a piece of that economic pie and still protect the capacity of young people and older people in that community to breathe clean air?
Yes, and this is all we're asking them for. And Port Authority refuses, and the trucking company. They want the owners of the trucks, the misclassified workers, to have the newer trucks. They can't afford it. This should be expense that the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey owns up to, as well as the trucking companies. And then it will reduce the asthma rates, the lung cancer. We live in a diesel death zone in the city of Newark. It's everywhere. We can't escape it, and it's killing us. And so we are paying the environmental burden for the whole region where they are receiving the economic benefit, and all we're receiving is the environmental harm. And it's not fair, not for my kids or any of the kids and residents in the city of Newark.
Newark is clearly, as you point out, one of the largest, and you kind of look at that flow, you go up that eastern seaboard. Are there other port cities, potentially in the Gulf Coast or others along the eastern seaboard that are facing similar challenges challenges. I'm wondering if there's a way in which there's coalition work to be done.
Yes, I'm actually a part of a Moving Forward Network, which is a national organization of individuals from port communities, and I am the New Jersey and the New York representative. And we fight very hard to educate our communities, but unfortunately, because of the color of our skin, and when you live close to the port communities, we receive all of the environmental harm. But we're working hard each and every day, and that's why it infuriates us that you have easy solutions that can be implemented today. California implemented some of this. They have the newer trucks.
As I was, you know, as we were reviewing and getting ready for this, I was thinking about the fact that right now one of the rallying cries is, I can't breathe, of course, about the fact that Eric Garner, those are the final words that he was saying. But this is another form of being unable to breathe because of an injustice. Thank you so much for your continued work and activism and for giving us an opportunity to take a look at some of what you've been up to. Thank you to Kim Gaddy. Up next, it has been a tough year. There is good news, and such is the case for 2014. Stick around through the break, and I'll show you what I mean.